Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for August 22, 2023, the Moore Odebrecht Indictments edition. And we begin with that story from the Wall Street Journal from Kayla Vias, who reports that prosecutors in Colombia announced criminal indictments against 60 people, including dozens of former government officials, on graft charges tied to the transnational corruption scandal involving the disgraced Brazilian contractor Odebrecht. The charges represent more fallout from the extensive bribery network that Odebrecht settled FCPA enforcement action in and admitted in 2016. From Latin America to the Americas, North America, that is, to Africa, to bribe politicians. In Colombia, prosecutors say Odebrecht paid some $30 million in bribes to obtain a contract for a 328-mile road construction project. Next up, from Reuters, the Angels of Death at the Fifth Circuit surprised everyone by throwing out a unique decades-old precedent that made it extraordinarily difficult for workers to prove discrimination claims. Last Friday, in an en banc decision, the court revived a lawsuit claiming Dallas County required female guards, but not male guards, to work at least one day each weekend, overruling its long-standing precedent that federal anti-discrimination law only prohibits bias in ultimate employment decisions such as hiring, promotions, and setting pay. It's a pretty stunning reversal given the right-wing nature of the Fifth Circuit and their antipathy to Title VII and indeed equal rights at all. Next up from NPR, Guatemala's presidential candidate who was an anti-corruption prosecutor and a reformist candidate has beaten the odds and become president-elect. With nearly 100% of the vote counted, he leads by more than 20 percentage points. That's a huge victory, but also unexpected. It stunned political observers when he secured a second-place vote in the first round of elections, and now he's been elected. Of course, it's South America, so whether he'll get to actually do something or even live to see his term out is problematic at best. And our final story comes to us from the Financial Times, who reports that the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, arranged for an internship for his son at PwC. That would seem to violate sons and daughters, so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in Australia, particularly considering the imbroglio that PwC finds itself in Australia. So it's not clear the work that was done by the PM's son. I don't think that he would get anywhere near the government work, but it's PwC, so you never know. Anyway, we'll keep a watch on this one and see if there's any further fallout. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.